Hello, hello, everybody. Is everybody there? Come on in. Welcome to the Economic Freedom Webinar. I have to tell you, this was a spontaneous event. I was out praying this morning, getting ready for the hurricane that's coming in, and I was just seeking the Lord about a few things. And I don't know what it was, but I just had a couple of things. I had a desire to say, I'm going to take tonight and invite people at the last minute to come into this, because there's something I want to share with you. And it has to do at its root, its foundation has to do with the climate that we're in right now. I don't mean the air temperature. I don't mean global warming, whatever that is. I don't mean any of that. I'm talking about there's like a reset that's in process that's coming in. And I'm hearing people are feeling rather trapped. And they want out. They want a way of having life that has some freedom to it. Now, I'm going to ask you guys to hop in the chat here just a little bit, and I'm going to open up my chat as well, so I can well, I don't even see where my chat option is. Maybe that's it here. I don't know. Let me see. Yeah, there it is. But if you would just put in the chat, just a little bit of where you're from, I'd like to see that and acknowledge the folks that are joining us from around the world on such short notice. But if you're in, let me do this. If you're employed right now, can you enable the chat, Wally? I don't think it's enabled. I'm not sure, but it looks like it might not be. And what I want to ask you guys is, if you are employed somewhere, just put a E for employed. And if you have if you're an entrepreneur, put an E for an entrepreneur. But basically, I want to know if whether you are employed someplace or you're self-employed. So maybe E for I tell you what, make it this way, because you haven't had a chance to unlock the chat yet, apparently. So when that's unlocked, I'm going to want you to put a J for you have a job, or E for your entrepreneur. You have you got some kind of business thing going, something like that. I really want to know what you guys are doing, because what this is for folks that have one of two things going. You're either in a corporate grind. And let me say something. I left that corporate grind thing in 1980, end of 87. I think it might have been January of 88. I'm trying to get within a few weeks, doesn't matter, around there. And then I've been on my own ever since then, except for I did a short stint for a couple of years to help a friend of mine with his commercial real estate company. He had 12 agents. They were down to 3. He was going to shut it all down. He was desperate, and he asked me for some help for 6 months, and then it ended up being another 2 years after that. And we took that failing commercial real estate company that was down to 3 agents and turned them into the fastest growing real estate brokerage in the history of the Inc. 500. And the 16th fastest growing privately held company in America. And so I was glad to do that. But I had to tell you, while I was doing that, when I was in process of doing that, I also had responsibilities to show up every day, and be there at 8 o'clock. And usually, because I'm the kind of guy I am, I would get there early, maybe 7:30, maybe 7 o'clock, which would mean I have to leave my home at 6 or 6:30 in the morning. Of course, the business day is over technically at 5 o'clock, but I'd be there till 5:30. Maybe a little later, and then drive home. It's an hour drive, and rush hour traffic, it'd be 6:30, 7 o'clock a lot of times. And so I'm putting in a 12-hour day. Now, I don't know if any of you are in that mode of doing that. Let me see here. I'm seeing something else here. Let me see if this is working. I'm seeing some Q&A. Chat is not enabled. Chat is disabled. Chat not able. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of that, guys. Okay, we got it. Thank you, Jesus. We got that chat going. Thank you, everybody, for saying that. We got that going. Okay. Hi, George. Hi, Charles. Hi, Nancy. Kevin, good to see you, Kevin. Eric in SRQ. Good to see you, my friend. And everybody else jumping on the call. I'm glad we got this worked out. Now, what I'm realizing is that there's a whole lot of people right now that are in this space of thinking, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this. I'm in the grind of working the corporate thing, but I need it to pay the bills to for the kids, for college, for whatever it is. And they're not really seeing a way out, but there is one. And so I had it in my heart that I believe And you can give me a yes or no on this question, but I believe that most people would rather have the opportunity to have their own enterprise, go to work when they want to go to work where they want to go to work, and work with whomever they want to work with to make however much money they want to make. Now, is that true? Anybody here on that page to say, yeah, I would like that opportunity? Now, having said that, answer me yes if you would, please. If you're in that mode, say, yeah, I'd like that. Or no, I wouldn't, if that's you as well. But I don't want to hold out the idea that having your own business is a walk in the park. I'm not saying that having your own business is like nothing to it, man. You got freedom like galore. No, you're going to work hard, maybe even harder than you ever worked, especially when you're getting it launched. The difference is you're working hard to build your vision, your future, your long-term success. I'm seeing all the comments coming in. Yes, yes, yes. Hey, Joanne. Yes, Alfreda. Yes, Elizabeth. Brian. Hey, Brian. Yes to everybody on that. I see that. Yeah, really getting stuck. I get it. And so when you make the transition to say, I'm going to have my own enterprise, what happens is a lot of people think, I want to do that. And they jump in with unrealistic expectations. And I want to smash those right now. Do not have those ridiculous, unrealistic expectations that you're going to quit your job and start something else. And in the first 30 days, you're going to make as much or more while working less. It doesn't work like that. It's not how it works. And so I wanted to make sure that in our time together here, that I'm going to pass on to you the 4 things that are essential. And if you have these 4 things and you do them well, you will absolutely be successful to whatever level you are aspiring to. But these are 4 fundamentals that are critical, and they are actually a skill set. You see, I don't like it when people, they present something like it's just easy peasy, sit in your pajamas till 10 a.m. or whatever it is, and do nothing. No, you have to provide value. But the thing is, as I said to you, many of you saw the email I sent out today, I presume. And I said that out and I said, you know what? This morning, I wanted to spend more time in the Word. That was important to me. So I had a chance to do that. And so I dove in and, I like to start work early, but I was getting something from the Lord. One of my success secrets is this, that I have an open-ended time with the Lord. I don't do that every day. I ought to, but I don't. But sometimes I'll do it for a longer stretch than others. But this morning, especially, I said, you know what? I haven't had enough of the Word yet to satisfy me. So I spent time in the clock ticked past 8 plus 8:30 going on to 9 o'clock, and I thought it doesn't matter. I need that. But had I been responsible for a job at some employer, I wouldn't have had that option. Now, I'm not a slacker. I work hard. I work hard in my own business, and I love what I do. And then, as many of you saw, they're threatening a hurricane for the west coast of Florida. We're in Sarasota, so I haven't actually seen the cone of forecast today, but from what I've heard from others, Sarasota is really not in the threat danger. Eric Lindquist probably watching very close because he had a miracle happen after the last Hurricane Ian last year. But so from what I understand, though, we're not in the cone, but we're definitely in the place, I'm told, where we can get a lot of rainfall. So my wife had a hair appointment downtown. I said, you know what, sweetheart? The parking's kind of slim down there. You might have to walk 5 minutes in the pouring rain, both directions. That's no fun. I'll take you down there. It's a 30-minute drive. And I'll just bring my laptop and I'll work in a restaurant someplace. I was going to work in Starbucks, but they closed because of the pending storm and so forth. But anyway, I found a place, First Watch. Some of you know where that is. And I had the opportunity then to finish editing the video that I sent out to y'all and doing the landing page and doing other things. Did it right there in the restaurant at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, whatever. And so I had that privilege of working elsewhere when I want to, when I need to. My wife and I are talking about taking a trip out west to Colorado or to Oregon. And the nice thing is we say, it doesn't matter. We can go where we want and we can live where we want because I can work from anywhere I want, anywhere at all. And there's a certain liberty because it was for freedom that Christ set us free. And when we're young, we step into the mold of working for somebody else, and that's appropriate. That's like an apprenticeship. That's where we learn various skills. In my case, I learned sales skills. I learned a little bit about marketing back then. I learned about a work ethic. I learned a lot of things that were very important while I was in the employ of somebody else. But there comes a time when you say, you know what? I'm ready to go. Now, unfortunately, when I said I was ready to go, that was just because I wanted to go. I didn't know what I was doing. I knew how to sell, and that was it. But I didn't know how to really build a business. I did one. I started one, and it went south in a hurry, and we were in a world of hurt. But God rescued me in the middle of that situation. He said to me, "Hey, son," and he spoke to me. I said, "Lord," the preacher was preaching, and the preacher said, instead of asking God, this was on a Sunday night, he said, instead of asking God to bless your business or bless your efforts, why don't you ask God what he's blessing and do that? And that was just part of his sermon. And I said, well, Lord, what are you blessing? And he said, Psalm 68:11, which I didn't know what it said, but it says, the Lord gave the word and great was the company of them that published it. Now, that was the King James, and I was kind of a literalist, still am really, but I took that and said, well, publish your word. And that's where I said, well, give me an idea and I'll do it. And I ended up doing the Bible Incorporated. And that Bible Incorporated became one of the best-selling Christian business books of all time, selling hundreds and hundreds of thousands of copies worldwide, because it's a compilation of scripture on work and business topics, 101 of them actually, no commentary, just what the Word of God says about 100 different topics. And so that kind of got me launched into that. And that company, we did well. We kept it. We sold it 5 years later, and all that worked out really well. Then I started another company doing sales training, and been doing that basically. I don't do it now, but I did it for many, 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 many years after that. I learned some of the fundamentals. So what I want to share with you tonight, and bear in mind, this was, as I said, this was a spontaneous thing. So I have notes that I'm going to be referring to, but I don't have it in a PowerPoint yet. But I'm going to tell you what is absolutely necessary for anyone to get to that place where they can do like my son did. My goodness, my son 10 years ago, I mean, he was young. He was 10 years younger than he is now. And his wife and 4 children, 6 of them, they buy around the world plane tickets, move out of their, basically their apartment, the rented facility, the rented place they were living in, put their stuff in storage, and went to the very first country. I don't remember which one it was, South America, maybe, whatever continent they went to first. And they did all the continents, 13 countries, went all over the world. And all he had to do was make enough money while traveling to pay his way the rest of the way, because all he had done was bought his plane tickets. They had to still pay for their lodging and food and all that for the next year, 13 months. And so he did that while running his business from wherever he was, at a cafe in Spain or Israel or Africa, anywhere you can imagine, Iceland. They didn't have internet service down in the Antarctic, but he did take a boat down there. But anyway, he did all that kind of stuff. And that's freedom. It's freedom. And I tell you what, I believe with all my heart, God's heart for you, for me, for us, is to have some freedom. Freedom doesn't mean you don't work. Freedom doesn't mean I'm not going to put my best effort in. You are going to do it, but you are going to love it. Jesus did what he did, but he got tired. He didn't get tired and fall asleep on a boat in a storm because he was bored. He got tired and fell asleep on a boat because he was exhausted, because he'd worked very hard doing the thing that he loved for the people he loved. And friends, that's what really business is about. Doing what you love, serving people you love to love, and taking care of them. So I'm not going to make this a long webinar. I could, but I promised myself and Wally and other people, I'm going to try to keep this short. So I'm going to get into the first couple things here and share them with you. The first thing you got to have, the 4 non-negotiables for securing economic freedom, is if you're going to launch out into your own, you need to have or represent somebody's product or yours or service that has market potential. Okay, so let's say you've got an idea for a product. Fantastic. Is there any potential for it? Let's say you have a market for, I don't know, a service, lawn care, hair cutting, whatever kind of service, it doesn't matter. And you want to go into that business. Well, is there any demand? So the first question you look at, if you're looking at starting your own business, is there any demand for what you want to offer? And the first question you could ask is there pain awareness? Are people aware that they're in pain? You go back to 2020, there was a lot of pain awareness when people couldn't find toilet paper. You might remember that. Okay, is there pain awareness? Are you addressing a felt need of an identifiable market? Or is it a 1 in a million thing? So that's what you've got to figure out is, first of all, I've got this great idea. Wonderful. I had an idea for a business before I started the publishing business, and I called it Professional Buyers Guild. And I went and helped people make purchases because I could negotiate on their behalf because I was good at that. And it started off really well, but I didn't know how to grow it. And I didn't have a lot of people that were interested, but mostly because I didn't know how to do some of the excuse me, next stages that we're going to talk about. So when you're looking at your product or service, anybody can come up with this. Listen, your product or your service, imagine this. Inside you, I promise you, are the seeds for something wonderful. It could be a great innovation on a product. It could be a product that's already out there, but innovated in a different way that makes people go, wow, I want that. For example, we had cell phones for many, many years, and then Apple came out with the iPhone. And when that came out, boom, what a revolution it was. You could scroll using your finger, and all those kind of innovations were amazing. It wasn't that people didn't have a phone. They just wanted the new phone, right? So you want to know, is there any pain awareness? That's one thing. Is there any demand or potential demand for what I'm having? If, for example, you think, I can gather up kitty litter, used kitty litter, and I'm going to offer it for 50 cents a bag, I don't think there's much demand for that. Number one. So number two is, is it in demand? Is there pain awareness? Is the market are they feeling a pain? Are you addressing a pain that people have? Number two, is there an awakened desire? See, some people aren't always in pain, but there may be a new thing trending and everybody wants some version of it. Like, for example, the new iPhone when it came out. So you're looking for something where there's pain and a lot of people have it, or there's desire and a lot of people want it. The third thing you're looking at, if you want to be successful in that, is that if the thing that you are offering, and by the way, you can offer your product, your service, or you can represent somebody else and sell their product or their service. We're very, very, very soon, this month, we will have our own affiliate program where I will be training people to make a good income if they want to, representing us using our product and our service in the Jesus School of Business. But you can do that with anybody. But I'm going to say, supposing you have your own idea, because those seeds are in you. And many of you, because I've heard from you, say, I've got something I want to get out of me, and let it be brought out, be watered, nurtured, and grow into something. But when you're doing that, you want to ask the third question, and that is there, what about financial means? You've got a great product or service in mind, but your ideal customer must have the means to purchase it. If your price is way above their market price range, then you're not going to do well. The fourth thing that you're looking for, besides pain, besides desire, besides, it's in their budget, anybody can afford this or whatever, is number four, you've got to be able to find a watering hole. I remember when I went moose hunting many decades ago when I was a teenager in British Columbia, lived there. And, we went walking in the woods for a long time to find a swamp where we thought the moose were hanging out. It was winter. It was frozen. They weren't hanging out there. I didn't get any moose. But the idea is where are the people gathering that you're looking for? If you're looking for moose, where is their watering hole, so to speak? You've got to be able to identify who your target market is, what the avatar is, not just identify and say, well, they're this demographic, et cetera, et cetera. You got to know where those people are, like what groups they belong to, or what sites they're part of, or some way you've got to be able to identify who they are. And I call it finding their watering hole. And then number five, ideally, you want not only something that meets solves a pain, or provides meets a desire of theirs, and they have the financial means to do it. And number four, you can find them, you can identify, there they are, I'm going to market to them. But number five, preferably in an emerging market. An emerging market. You don't want to be in my opinion, in the newspaper business. That's a declining market. You want to be in online. You don't want to be in the other. So you're looking for an emerging market. You don't want to be introducing buggy whips in 1925 when cars were everywhere. So that's number one. Number one is have a product or service that has market potential. Many of you already have that idea, but that's just the beginning. Then it's number two. You've got this thing, but now you got to put a package around it. You got to decorate it. You got to show it off somehow. It's an offer, and you got to make it so appealing that people will feel foolish for turning it down. And no matter how good you make it, it doesn't mean everybody's going to accept it, because they won't. I don't care how good you make it. There's always going to be a naysayer. The best offer ever made to mankind was Jesus Christ. God offered his own son, that whosoever would believe in him would not perish, but have life everlasting. He made that offer explicitly. He demonstrated his power, his magnificence. He did miracles. He did all kinds of things. He preached the gospel of the kingdom. He healed the sick. He did all those things, and yet they still crucified him. Now, obviously, many didn't. Many believed in him and followed him and loved him and all that. but not everybody. And that's my point. You have to understand that in the world of business, you're going to have some people that are not kind to you, even though you have a very good thing. That's just part of the deal. And so people are going to always turn down your offer as well. So you have to ask yourself, how much genuine value can you pack into your offer? How much value can you put? A good rule of thumb, they say, is to make the value that your customer will receive about 10 times more than the amount you're asking for your product or service. Now, when you're going to be doing that, this is where some of the writing ability comes. To be able to craft your message. Now, in the Jesus School of Business, we have the Communication Secrets of Jesus and a lot of different things on there that'll help people who want to do good copywriting. But it's been said that the goal of great writing is to make the reader understand. However, the goal of great copywriting is to make the prospect feel understood. You want to write in such a way when you set your copy that they look at it and say, this person knows my pain, or he knows my desire, he knows my financial situation, and they need to feel that. Ideally, you're going to want to disable the typical false beliefs that people have about your product or your service or your industry and replace them with powerful new beliefs that they can latch onto on their own. Now, in the offer, there's a bit of a structure to your offer. I'm going to give you 4 pointers when you're making an offer. And if you bear these 4 pointers in mind when you create an offer, you will do very well. You ready? You guys want to know? Are you still there? You're tracking with me? Everybody want to know what these are? I got 4 things to help you to get that. Okay, I'm just looking to see people are tracking with me here. These things are very important. Number 1, thank you. Yes, okay, yeah, okay. Listen, I did this. This is gold. What I'm about to tell you is gold. And it works in any business. You have to tweak it depending on what you're offering, what you're selling, and so forth. But the first thing you want to do, truthfully, with integrity, is to maximize the promise. This is your value proposition. It's the value you bring to somebody, delivering its maximum value. Truthful, but what is its maximum value? It's powerful, it's eye-catching, it's possibly even show-stopping. And as important as that is, as important as your promise and maximizing it is, I have to tell you, if you look online for any amount of time, you're going to see that the world is awash with big promises that are never really delivered, which is why we have a very skeptical market. However, that doesn't mean you shouldn't have a big promise. You can't go in there with, well, you know, we're not bad. I mean, I had a friend who had a drywall business, and he said, we may not be, on his business card, he said, we may not be any good, but we're slow. Of course, everybody took that to mean the opposite, and I think he did okay in his business, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't have a big promise. You should, and you want to have one that is strong and bold. It just means that you need more than a great promise. You need a great promise. You got to have a promise. And you know, you've heard the expression, you know, promise small and deliver big. And I've heard that a million times, maybe 100 times, but I've heard a lot. And I don't buy that. You don't promise small and deliver big, because promising small doesn't bring anybody to even take a look at it. Hey, I can get you 1% return on your investment year over year. Well, that doesn't get anybody there. Well, you know, really and truly, most of our customers get 100%, but I'm only going to, you know, promise small and then really wow you with the result. Well, you won't get anybody to come to the party. And so my thing is, you promise big and you deliver even bigger. But how do you do that? Well, the second element to this, besides maximizing the promise, think of this like an equation, is you got to maximize the second thing. You maximize the promise and you maximize, ready for this? Believability. Because selling is the transference of passion. It's the transference of belief, transference of conviction. And the prospect's level of belief is what they believe the likelihood of achieving the promised result is for them. You've got to make this believable. If your promise is strong, but they think the likelihood of experiencing the promise is low, you won't likely get a sale. So the first question you want to say is, do you believe? Would you buy? Have you been personally helped with whatever you're offering? What is your confidence level? And in your copy, in what you say, maybe on your videos or face-to-face, whatever it is, you've got to not only talk about the promise and how great that is, but then you have to equally lift up the level of believability. And there are a number of ways to do that, but you've got to increase the believability. It's based on a number of things, including you, but people believe 100% of what they say and something less, some percentage smaller of what you say, because it boils down to trust. Do they trust the salesperson? Do they trust the company? Do they trust the product or the service that's being offered? And if they have trust, the believability goes up, and you have to maximize that trust. You say they don't know you. Well, then who have you done other work for? Or what endorsements can you get? If you're brand new and starting out, then you're going to rely on the endorsements towards your kind of product or your kind of service. So maximize the promise, maximize your believability. Obviously, this is the last caveat I'm going to say on this. I hope it has to be truthful. That's a given. All right. Then you want to maximize, or excuse me, then you want to minimize two things. I mean, if you want to have a winning offer, you got a great promise and you're very believable, and you say like, hey, you can lose 50 pounds. Look, I did. Okay. But it only took me 3 years. Well, wait a minute. See, what you want to do is minimize the gratification delay. In other words, that's a great result. I believe you. How long will it take to get that result? Oh, it'll take about 10 years. Oh, no, but if it's, no, we can have that for you this afternoon. Say what? And so the quicker somebody can experience your value proposition, the more attractive the offer becomes to them, and the more that someone is willing to pay for it. Speed is king because, now let me say that again, slower. Speed is king because time is irreplaceable. Which is why when somebody wants to lose weight, some people go and they get a book and they read it. Some people watch some videos. They might spend $20. Somebody might go to a health club to spend, get a gym membership and get that weight loss down to, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, depending on how much they have to lose, etc. Some people might want to go on a diet, but some people say, I don't have time for that. I got a wedding next week and whatever. And they may go and have liposuction, and that can be done in an afternoon, right? It's going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars, but I can have an instant result with that. And that's the idea here, is the value you bring can be greatly elevated when you minimize the delay of the gratification of the promise. So that's the third thing. First one, you maximize the promise, you maximize the believability, you minimize the delay, the gratification delay, and fourthly, you want to minimize the degree of difficulty. Okay, if you were offering the surefire way to win every lottery, all somebody had to do to get the secrets you alone have was to climb on top of Mount Everest in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. The degree of difficulty just outweighed the potential gain. You're not going to make it. So you think, okay, in my offer, as much as humanly possible and always truthfully possible, how can I minimize the degree of difficulty? Or to put it another way, how can I make this as easy for them to achieve the goal as possible? Because if I can minimize the difficulty and I can minimize the delay while maximizing the promise and maximizing the believability, you have an incredibly successful offer. Now, there are certain things that people have called, I call it binding the strong man of false and limiting beliefs to increase sales. And how you do that, that happens to be I have a series of books called God's Best Kept Secrets. Book number 3 has a chapter on exactly how you can eliminate the strong man, I call it, of false and limiting beliefs to increase sales. But that's outside the purview of tonight's webinar, but it's in the book. So we've talked about number 1, which is you got to have a product or service. Number 2, you've got to package that product or service. And then number 3, great. Now you have it. It's on your website. It's a great offer. It's fantastic. Wow, you're so impressed. And maybe everybody else is, except for the problem, there's nobody else. Because now you need exposure. Now you got to do marketing. Now there's a lot of ways to do marketing. There's free, there's passive, there's all kinds of ways to do it. But ultimately, there are some common denominators. And I'm going to share with you one very powerful thing. I mean, you can do, and I agree with and support doing, organic kinds of things. Oh, that's wonderful. But if you want to build wealth online, and by the way, it is the most common way that people become millionaires is through entrepreneurship, by having their own business. I think it was 74% of millionaires became millionaires in that process of having their own business. So this is a very important thing. And if you have a business, you're going to want to know, how do I market? And if you want to build wealth with your business, yes, you can do everything organic, and it takes a while, and it can have a good payback, but paid advertising works. And by the way, paid advertising has always worked, and it will always work. The problem is, people, maybe some of you, have advertised and haven't got a great result. You put an ad up, maybe you did 2. Who knows? Maybe you put 3 or 4 up and none of them work. Well, I got news for you. When you put up an ad, probably 95 out of 100 won't do hardly anything. 4 of them will get you a decent return, and 1 of them, on average, will be a home run. And it'll make up for all the losses you did on the other ones. And by the way, when I talk about losses on the other ones, it's not like you run an ad and say, well, here's $1,000. I'll put it on this one, and 1,000 on this one, and 1,000 on this one. I just did a series of ads for $2 a day for 5 days. Purpose was, I wanted to see which one got the most traction, which one's got the most attention. Basically, it's a fishing report. I want to know what the fish are biting on. Am I saying it right? Are the people interested in what topic are they interested in, and so forth? And you can do that very inexpensively. And I do some of that on Facebook. But there is a process that we talk about in depth in the Jesus School of Business. And I want to tell you, this is amazing. This is amazing when it comes to marketing. This is a fundamental thing. You know, the Bible says in Romans 1:20 that the hidden things of God from the creation of the world are clearly revealed, being seen by the things that he made, even his eternal power and his divineness, I guess you could say it. And so I'm looking at that and thinking, well, if I look at nature, God made it, and how did he make it function? Because if I can do the same kind of things he did or model it, I can be very successful. Now, I don't, let me see if I have that book handy. I might have it. Let me see. Yeah, I do. This one here is called The Perfect Business Model. And this is all in the series of God's Best Kept Secrets, Perfect Business Model. And it's based on the idea that if you get 100 entrepreneurs and you plunk them down in a big city someplace, and you come back 5 years later, only 4 of them will still be in business and have at least 1 employee and be profitable. 4 out of 100. But if you take 100 seedlings and you plant them in an orchard, and as long as they have 7 fundamental things that are there by nature, as long as they have those 7 things like water, light, warmth, and so forth, nutrients, soil, dirt, those kind of things, as long as they have those things, which all have business applications, by the way, as long as they have those, 100 out of 100, if you come back 5 years later, will not only be fruitful, but producing and having multiplied the franchise, because their fruit will have fallen and been planted by some animal downstream a little bit. And so there's a lot to be learned from nature, but there is a 3-step process that every tree does. Now, I've studied trees, more than probably just about anybody in business has ever done, I would think. Not as much as some botanists and the people living at the Smithsonian World Headquarters for Tropical Research in the Panama Canal, which I visited and had access to their papers. But I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. And trees have 3 different ways they market. And one of them, what I call the transactional form of marketing, it has educational marketing, informational marketing, and transactional. But the transactional has a 3-step process. And any business that wants to do well should learn that 3-step process. In fact, it's been taught since the early 1900s by one of the fathers of modern advertising, and Elmo, what is his name? St. Elmo, I believe is his last name. And, he popularized this, even though he never referenced it coming from the laws of nature, but it is. And here's the first thing. Imagine this. This is how it works. And this will work for you, because if you're going to be in business, I got to have a good product or service that's in demand, that either relieves somebody of pain or provides a desire that they have, right? And something they can afford. It's got to be in that category. And it doesn't have to be an emerging business, but it certainly doesn't hurt to be in an emerging business. And you got to be able to locate them. But after that, you want to do the following. You're going to market. So think about nature. Think about an apple tree, an orange tree, depending where you live, a fruit tree. It will put out flowers that later become fruit. And so, but it will never produce fruit without pollination. It's got to pollinate. It has to. So how does it attract their customers? In the pollination stage, their customer are their customer is a bee or a butterfly or a bat or a bird of some sort. But basically, those are their pollinators. And so they got to get their attention. And so the way the tree gets their attention, it's green all the time. And all of a sudden, springtime comes or whatever it is, and boom, a flourish of flowers. Flowers. Now, they're looking maybe 100 yards away and they're buzzing by and they see bright pink or bright orange or whatever color it is. And depending on the particular animal it is, whether it's a bee or a bird or a butterfly, whatever it is, they're attracted to different colors. And the tree is meant to attract a certain kind of pollinator. But all he does is he sees it. It just gets their attention. And so your advertising, number one, has got to get their attention. With the purpose of that is to arouse curiosity. That's it. You just want to arouse curiosity. You want to get their attention. And the way it's done in nature with the flower is there's about 7 things the flower does. And number one is the shape of the flower, which I could teach you about at length, but I won't tonight. If you want to know more about that, I did a book called Rainforest Strategy. I'm going to give that away free to some folks tonight. Perhaps we'll see how that goes. But the shape of the flower matters, which in advertising terms, that would be like, what is the image that you're using? Sometimes it can be a child. Sometimes it can be, I had my dog Labradoodle, Judah, in a video today because I just felt like having some fun with it, and maybe that attracted more interest. I don't know, but I think it did. But is the shape or the image, the color, reds and orange colors simulate hunger. That's why Burger King, McDonald's, and so on, they all use those colors. The size of the flower or the size of the font, the size of the image. Is there any movement? How does the flower move in the wind? Well, in movement, you're looking for ads that have motion and movement. If you can get that will attract a lot more attention. Then there's timing, which is, in the case of flowers, some flowers only open at night because that's when their pollinators, the bat, for example, that's when they're out and about. So when are your customers looking? Is it at a certain, like maybe you're having something for new mothers. So you're looking for people who have announced on Facebook, for example, hey, we're going to have a baby. And so you want to target certain people according to the right time of life for them. And then, of course, there's the medium, the flowers. They're all set in the rainforest. It's very lush. And the way you choose and what you choose to advertise on, if it's a flyer on somebody's windshield, it may not have the same impact as an ad during the Super Bowl, for example. But anyway, number one, you got to awaken curiosity or arouse curiosity. You got to get their attention. And there's a myriad ways of doing that. We could spend hours on this. I'm just giving you the highlights. Be happy to help you more later. But the second thing is the bee, when it sees the flower from 100 yards away or whatever it is, thinks that's interesting. I'm kind of curious. He heads over to it. And the next thing the bee does is what we call the smell test. Gets a little closer and tries to smell it. He wants to know if there's a there. And the purpose of the smell test is to awaken interest. How do you get somebody's interest? You got their curiosity, they're kind of paying attention a little bit, but now you got to get them interested. And you do that by giving something of value that serves to gain their interest, making them want to invest further. Like, for example, what tonight for me is, I was thinking and praying, and I thought, I want to give something of great value. Now, I don't care who we get on the call. Some people aren't going to find value because this isn't really their thing. But if you're wanting to start a business, you're wanting to grow your business, this is highly valuable. Now, you probably need some help in executing all those things if you've never done it before, but you can also learn. It's not that hard. You can learn it. So you want to get their interest. So I've got their attention. Then I migrate to passing the smell test because you gave something of value that said, you know what? This looks interesting. And then the third step is what the bee does, for example. It makes its way over the last few feet, gets over to the flower, and it samples some of the pollen or perhaps some of the nectar, which is a foretaste of the fruit that will be coming. And it is consistent with the flavor that will be forthcoming in another month or two. And you offer them a taste. And once they taste it, they're going to want to buy it. They're going to commit to it. You have done something else. You've gone from attention to interest to desire. Now, if it doesn't suit their taste, then they're going to buzz off. But if they like it, they're going to be on it, like a duck on a June bug. So, like, for example, in our Jesus School of Business, for just $1, we offer a full month, consume as much as you possibly can, as much as you want, smorgasbord of biblically based sales and business training for those who want to excel in the job or launch their own business. So we do that. So that's our way of getting people to the desire stage. Like, man, this is all amazing stuff. But if you've done the first three things, you created a product or service, you've got a great offer, and now you've marketed it in such a way that you've got an influx of leads, depending on the type of business you're in, there's another thing that happens, and that's sales. I've got leads, people are calling, and they're calling your business, and they're calling whatever it is, and they're asking you questions. And you put together this great offer and all that, and people are knocking on the door. But maybe their decision is based on your landing page, but maybe they need to talk to you. And so if you expect to speak with a prospect before they commit to a purchase of what you're selling, you need to follow a 5-step process. Now, the 5-step process I call the easy close process. That's a much longer course on my training, but I don't want to just tell you it's called that. I want to give you the highlights of it, because I said I would try to keep this as short as possible. And it's EASY, close, easy close. The E stands for engage. It just means when you're having a conversation, you just start a conversation to get their interest going on whatever it is you're offering. Usually if they're the ones calling, then you're going to take an interest in them. And that moves you to the A, which means assess or ask questions. We have a whole strategy called the Moses questioning strategy, the 7 questions that Moses had to have answered before invading Canaan. It has put literally millions and millions and millions of dollars in my clients' hands. It's the most important thing I know about selling. It's not about telling. I say this over and over again. Selling is not about telling. It's about listening. And if you're going to listen, then you better ask good questions. And the best questions I know are found in the book of Numbers, the 13th chapter. They're the questions that Moses had to have answered before invading Canaan. And then after that, you say, okay, now that I understand you, and questions do a lot of good things. They build rapport, build trust, show that you're listening and caring, and a lot of good things it does, but also helps you know exactly what you need to present to somebody, or the solution, the S stands for solution, that you're going to present. And so after you've engaged them and you've asked the questions, you presented your solution, the next step is the letter Y, which yield. That means to negotiate. And of course, we got a course on negotiating called the Negotiating Secrets of the Apostle Paul, which is stunning in its scope. I'd love to open that up for you again, but I promised Wally and everybody else that I'd try to keep this under an hour. So I'm going to just tell you, negotiating is the next thing that usually happens. And then, of course, C stands for closing the sale, which closing the sale should never be about pressure, never be about manipulation. I never, ever want anybody to feel pressure. In fact, when we make the offer, I'm going to share a few things with you here tonight. When I make that offer, I say, look, it's not a big investment, but I'm going to give you 5 or 6 days to think about it if you need to. I mean, if you get in, you get in, you don't. But, you have to have a sales process. And the beautiful thing about the process is when you start to analyze, you can say, you know what, we're not engaging enough customers, or we're engaging them, but we don't get past that stage, or I don't get to from the hello to, can I do an assessment? No, we don't want an assessment. Or maybe they say, yeah, we'd love an assessment, but they don't go from there to wanting to hear your solution. And there's a whole spreadsheet that we have inside the school that actually allows you to track these metrics and shows you what you should be doing to maximize your results. And then, of course, negotiate and close. So that is the 4th element. You create a great product or service. Okay. Once you've got that part figured out, then you say, what is my offer? And I gave you the guidelines for that. By the way, the guidelines are spelled out in chapter 8 of the book number 3 in God's Best Kept Secrets. But it's all spelled out in a lot more detail inside the books. But those were the highlights, and they're gold. And I hope you're able to write them down or copy them. And if any of you are making comments, I haven't looked at them yet, haven't been able to see them quite yet. But they're this is the process. This is where you'll find the solutions. Now, I'm going to ask, you see, if anybody has a question right now, because I'm about to share something else, I want to make sure. Hey, thank you, Marlene. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, everybody. Minimize the gratification. Speed is king. Yeah, you're right. 4th is minimize the degree of difficulty. Excellent. If I can have your permission, folks, what I want to do is this. Let me ask you this. I want to ask a question. My heart's desire was, could I give you something of value? And I want to know, did I accomplish that tonight? Did you say, that's some good stuff? Can you see it as usable? Can you give me some feedback in the chat? I just want to know, because that was my intention to do that. What's your feedback on it? What did you think of it? Can you use it? That kind of thing. Yes, it is food for thought. Yes, Celeste. Yes, thank you. Raji, absolutely valuable. Yes, it is. Thank you. I need to know, because this is what I'm trying to do. So very useful. Great. You can use it. Stuart Davis. Hey, Stuart, good to see you, brother. Yes, Susan Holmes, very valuable. Ryan, hey, Ryan, good to see you. Good as usual. Thanks, George. Can use it. Will use it. Amen to Dwayne. Hey, Dwayne. Yes, you can. I know you can. Tom, Michelle Williams, totally. Excellent. Excellent. Some new great ideas. Celeste, that's exactly what I'm looking for. These are good practical applications. Look at the problem you have when you say, I'm going to do a webinar and keep it short, and is you wanted to give value. You want to give information that's useful, but I could spend an evening on any one of those points. But I thought what I would do, and Wally's saying, oh yeah, he good, trust me. But what I wanted to do was to make sure, hey, let me see, was I sharing my screen, Wally? I'm not doing that yet. I'm about to.
No, not yet.
Yeah, okay, I'm about to share my screen, or do you do that? I'm going to do that. Start sharing screen will stop all this computer sound share. Do you want to continue? I guess yes, right? I'm going to continue and start my screen share and get that going. As I say, the dilemma sometimes is, well, what can I do about this? And so I wanted to give you enough value so that you could research it on your own, but also I want to invite you guys. Listen, I pointed those books, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can get them if you would like. All right. Can I just have you for a couple more minutes? Are we good? We're good. Okay. This is the God's Best Kept Secrets 4-book series. If you have the book already, the series, and many of you do, probably, would you put it in the chat and let me know? Because I'm kind of curious who has it or not. And if you have any impressions on the books, let me know if you've already got the books. And if you have, let me know what your take is on those books already. Because I've gotten some tremendous reviews from all over the world. Peter Daniel said it's the best self-help book he's ever seen. Eric Lundquist. By the way, Eric Lundquist has a company, a kombucha. What's the number on that? What's the number? What's your company name? It's kombucha. There's a 2022. I'm trying to remember the numbers on it, Eric, but he's got the best natural kombucha stuff. 221 BC. Thank you. Richard Macca, not yet. Okay. Elizabeth Sartorius, have them, just beginning to read. You don't have it yet, Alfreda. You got to get them. You got to get them. John, I got the books, read 2 already. They are totally marked up. Thank you. I had a guy that was on my call. Isla Das says, I have it. And the Moses questioning is awesome. See, a lot of the things I referenced tonight are in the books, but here's the books. And by the way, if you want to get the books, you can get them anytime you want on Amazon. It's not a big deal. They're $99.70 for the set on Amazon. Or you can save 20 to 30% or more, depending on which version you get, by getting them from me on my website. You go to michaelpink.com/join, and you can get the digital version for $69.97. You can get the physical version for $79.97 plus shipping. And you can get them both for $89.97. Shamara Polkowski. I have the books. They're amazing. It took me a while to get through it because it's so value-packed and a different way of thinking. Thank you. Yes, it is. Thank you. Thank you, Marlene. The books are outstanding. Yeah, a lot of good things in there. I'm glad a lot of you already got them, but that's where you can get them. But I want to tell you something. If you want to, if you will go to the JesusSchoolOfBusiness.com, and if you'll go there, that looks like, let me see if I can click on it over here if that works a little better. It's going to open up there. Okay, let me slide a page over there because I'm sharing that. If you go there, the Jesus School of Business, this is where I have hundreds and hundreds and soon to be hundreds of videos of training of anything from, like, if you want to start business, there's a Genesis business model. And you open up the Genesis business model, it's one of the courses, and you'll see there's a video there, there's descriptions, and you can go in there. Day one, God said, let there be light. And so there's a whole teaching on the importance of vision and what it does. And then there's a PowerPoint, which you can download and open up, and the PowerPoint is there, and it's full of value information. And that's just on the Genesis business model, which, just so you know what that's about, it's like the idea of, I said to the Lord one time, how did you make this business? The one you call planet Earth? Like, everything is self-replicating, high quality, everything seems to work. How did you do that? I want to understand it. I set about studying it and ended up creating this great course. That's just one of the many things that are inside the Jesus School of Business. So I could take you through all of it, but I'm not going to because there's a lot there. But you can explore it by going to JesusSchoolOfBusiness.com. You can see what's inside it. There's a lot. You get to the end of that page, just hit load more, and it'll keep going, and you can see. But what I want to share with you is this. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint here, and we're going to go to the next slide. And let me see. Here we go. Let me close this out, and back to the PowerPoint. And just so you know the value of these, and when I say the value, this is what people pay. This is what we have sold it for individually before we put it inside the school. So we have what we call the mastery program, which is, it was 150 lessons. Now I'm at 170 something. It'll be about 400 by the time I'm finished. And it takes teaching on every one of the 101 of God's best kept secrets in the 4-book series. And it does a whole video teaching on each one of them. That's at least a $1,500 course there. We have a sales training course. We have 3 of them. 12 courses, 229 lessons for $1,344. We have 4 business courses. One of them is the Genesis Business School for $768. We have 8 motivation courses with 40 lessons for $681. We got 12, now 13 recorded live calls at $49 each. Those are the calls that are the monthly meeting where I teach and unload, just like I did tonight, unload a bunch, and we make that available inside the Jesus School. There's 4 entrepreneurial courses. There's 3 persuasion courses. There's the entire Peter J. Daniels digital library of 12 books, which are the best books and anything he ever wrote about. Goal setting, all kinds of things that are in there. Amazing stuff. Peter Daniels actually just sent me a series of books yesterday. And by the way, let me just mention something about Peter Daniels. He right now is having a health crisis. And he has Parkinson's. He turns 91 in October. He wanted to do a webinar with me, and we just put it on hold because he's having a real difficult time getting his words out and dealing with issues related to all that. And so it's not good. And so we just want to seek prayers for him. He's a beautiful, wonderful man who loves the Lord. And I have his library. He put his library inside the school for me to give to you. Anybody's in the school can access it for free. But the total online price, if added up individually, is $5,894. However, if you join this School of Business on the mentor level, it's just $1 when you purchase the God's Best Kept Secrets books. That's a pretty good deal. It's $1 for the first month. And in that month, you can binge watch if you want and then cancel. You know, I don't advise that, but you certainly can do it. Now, it was $59 a month for the first 200 seats, but they're long gone. It's currently $97 a month after the first month, and that's filling up. And then we'll be increasing it to $147 probably later this year. So I would encourage you to consider jumping in on the JesusSchoolOfBusiness.com, but go to michaelpink.com/join. Wally will put that in there again, I think, and you'll get the details on the mentor level. But that is growing up faster. But we also have, now listen, if you want to be in business and you want to succeed in business and you have a little bit of means and you're thinking, I would like more than just a monthly live meeting and access to hundreds of videos. I would like to be part of a weekly mastermind. Weekly mastermind. We meet every Friday. Well, 3 weeks of the month we meet on Friday. 1 week of the month we meet on the Thursday. But we meet once a week at the mastermind level. And what I do is I'll personally have a 30 to 60 minute call with you to get a handle on what your goals are and what your current business is and what's going on. So that in that meeting, once we do that, we have these live group coaching calls. You can put forward your issues, your problems, your challenges. We solve them together. We get the opinion of the group on, hey, he's got a new landing page or a new ad or a new whatever it is. And we get the input of other people. It is fantastic. We also have inside the mastermind group unlimited email support, meaning that you can email me 24/7. I won't answer that often, but I will answer you. And sometimes it'll be in the live group. Sometimes it'll be personal. Sometimes I'll even get on the phone with you. That's not promised, but I tend to do that sometimes. But you get unlimited email support. So you got a challenge. You're thinking, hey, Michael, would you take a look at this proposal? I don't know why I'm not getting any response on this. Would you send me? And I will do it. I won't write it for you, but I will critique it for you. So the mastermind level. We did do it for $147. That was sold out some time ago. I don't know, 2 years ago, whatever it was. Then we have the Builders Club, and it's $247 a month. That's filling up. It's not going to fill up. It's not going to be gone today any more than the other one's going to be gone. It's not like, hey, you got to go today, or you're going to. It's not like that. but we are filling it up. And then later this year, we expect it to go to $495 a month. And it includes everything in the mentor level, plus weekly live group coaching, a mini mastermind, unlimited email access, and access to over 150 hours of previously recorded sessions that are inside just the mastermind level. I mean, there's so much learning goes on in there. So that's the mastermind level of the Jesus School. Now, if you join either one of those two levels, either the mentor level or the mastermind level, and you live in the United States, I will mail you a copy, physical copy of this book here, Rainforest Strategy. It's an incredible book. It's the mysteries of God revealed in nature for business. And just so you know the backstory, one quick thing, I went down. God had invited me to go to Panama years ago. I went down. I didn't know why. He said something to do with finance. And I get down there, and I'm walking to the breakfast area at the bed and breakfast. And the Lord said to me, everything you need to learn about business, you can learn in the rainforest. I thought that was strange. But as it turns out, I thought the rainforest had the most best topsoil in the world, but it has the poorest. It's shallow and poor quality. And yet it's the most abundant system on earth. So the question I had was, God, how do you get abundance from scarcity? And the answer to that question is what everybody on this call needs to know. So if you join either the mentor group or the mastermind group, you get the Rainforest Strategy book also. Then as another bonus, I don't have any more of these books physically. I mean, I have a couple in my hand, but that's it. But I will send you the download, the digital copy of Selling Among Wolves, which was a best-selling Christian sales training book called Selling Among Wolves Without Joining the Pack. Bonus number 3 is the Bible incorporated in your life, job, and business. If you order that, either one of these, I will send you one of these books here. The Bible Incorporated will go with your order. It'll go out the door with you. That's the one I told you about that sold hundreds and hundreds of thousands of copies. And bonus number 4, for those of you that are interested in this, if you already have an established business, you got a number of employees and you're kind of going, you're not just like wanting to start, but you've been in it for a while. I work with my friend Eric Beck, who has this flagship assessment that he's done that is absolutely amazing. And it analyzes every area of your business, and it has a $195 value. And I said, Eric, would you please, he's got his business, his website is Founders Fire. I said, would you let me include that for free for like 30 days? Like people in the next 30 days, if they get in, they can also have the assessment. They got 30 days to take it, and you'll do the assessment for free, which he used to charge more than $195, but he let me do that for free with the group. So if you get either one of them, the mentor or the mastermind, you can do that. And by the way, there's no rush. You don't have, I'd love it if you do it tonight. If you choose to, you can, on the mentor level, it's like I said, it's $97 a month, or a lot of people want to just save the money and pay $970 a year. That saves you a couple $100. The mastermind level is $247 a month, but if you want to, you can pay $24.95 for the year, and that'll save you about $500. Both those options and the books are available on michaelpink.com/join. The offer with the bonuses ends in 6 days. We're going to end it on Labor Day. So that gives you enough time if you want to talk to your wife, your spouse, your partner, whatever. I don't want anybody to feel pressured. You don't need pressure. You know whether this is something you want or not. I don't know. But I know some people need it, and some people want it. And just like happened at the day of Pentecost, there were some people who mocked, and some people who marveled, and some people who got saved. And I don't know who and what and how that works, but if you're on this call and you want to take advantage of this, I would love to see you join me. We're having our next monthly meeting, the second Thursday of each month. It'll be second Thursday of September. We're having our next weekly meeting for the mastermind this Friday. So all you need to do is go to michaelpink.com/join to join. So friends, I hope that is it. I want to see if you got any answer. I answer crazy fast, or Wally does it. Hopefully it was Wally. Oh, well, that was it. Yeah, so Victoria said it's not the book that you're referring to, Victoria. The Peter Daniels course is, let me see if I have it. It's way up there. It's a big thing, but there is an online thing. What you have with the Peter Daniels course, which we're not offering tonight, but his books are amazing. There's 12 of them inside the school. That it has been reported that his program has created more millionaires than any other program on earth. He's been doing it longer than I have. He did seminars in over 4,000 churches, and people bought his course and did incredibly well with it. So let me see. JesusSchoolOfBusiness.com has that. George, you're welcome. Hey, how did I do on time? It's 9 o'clock, 1 hour on the spot. Does anybody have any questions for me at all? At all? Before I'm going to stop the share here. Thank you, Charlene. I do appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate that a lot. Anybody else have any questions? Because I'm going to end it and say good night to everybody. And thank you, Eric Lundquist, for being on the call, and everybody else that's on the call, those I know and those I don't. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Stuart. God bless you. Anybody else have anything to say? If not, I'm going to bid you adieu. And I hope that for those of you this meets a need, you'll either get the books, you can get them by themselves. And if you want to say, for $1, why not have access to thousands of dollars of training and check it out? You'll do that. But if you don't, you don't. That's fine. That's it. All right. Good night, one. Good night, all. God bless you, everybody. Good night, Susan Holmes. Good night, James Bryant. Can we look at this again? I'll tell you what, James, it will be, if you go to michaelpink.com/join, that's there. And I will also put this webinar out for a review for people to catch it later. So we'll be able to do that as well. All right, Celeste, thank you. God bless you. Hope that answers your question, James. Hope to see you guys in it. I look forward to seeing you guys, some of you on Friday, some of you the second Thursday of the month. All right. Bless you, Nancy. Bless you, James. Bless you, everybody. Good night, one and all. Love you guys.